How you doing, Danny? Thanks for calling.
Oh no, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm in London. I'm just getting over the jet lag. I flew in yesterday from LA, so
Oh, did you?
chilling.
That's good. That's good. Did you have anything to take care of out there?
I'm gonna take a little vacation with my brothers and my mom. We're gonna do a little sort of beach holiday. Um, we haven't done a family vacation in a long time, so I needed to make it a priority.
Oh, okay. That sounds like fun. Sounds like fun.
You know, I'll do a little work, a little bit of music either side of that when I'm in London.
Do you have your equipment with you?
I always carry my studio, I have the studio on wheels,
Yeah.
laptop and the phone. You don't really need much else, right?
Right. What production pieces do you usually take with you?
I just have the interface, the U.A.D twin, and I have a small MIDI keyboard, and I have this cool thing called the eyeball. Have you seen that? It's like a pop shield and a little booth built into one. It's like the size of a volleyball. And I put the Neumann condenser mic in there, the little Neumann, and it sounds great. I mean, you can get release quality vocals out of that. So,
yeah.
And then all we need is speakers. I haven't quite got to the point of carrying my own monitoring around, but one day. I remember back in the day, T-Pain turned up to the studio with, he actually had the tower. This was like 10 years ago. He had the Mac tower, and he had the big, 25-inch display that you could watch TV on, and it was all like flight cased up, and it looked incredible. I seem to remember Drake's producer having a similar setup. I mean, I guess, if you're taking your business seriously, you should carry the gear around. Why not?
Do you recommend speakers over headphones?
I think both, and I think have more than one pair of headphones, and move between different speakers. I mean, with the album, I kept referencing stuff, on multiple systems, different pairs of headphones. There's always a laptop test is important. I mean, if something sounds good just off the laptop speakers, then you know you're in business. And it's only really the bass that it gets hard to judge the low end on anything but, professional studio setup. And even then, sometimes I found when I got to mastering the album, the mastering engineer was like, you're going to have to turn the bass down on everything. Because I like a lot of bass. I like a lot of the 808 kick drum, and I like my drums loud, and I like my bass loud. He's like, just go across every track and turn the bass down 4 dB, and we'll be in a good place. So much bass, when you're producing, it stops you putting too much bass on.
Yeah. So we're definitely here to talk about the album, the new album, When the Machine Stops.
Yes, sir.
And that was released June 21st, right?
That's right. Just came out. I'm super proud of it. I mean, it's the first time I've written, produced, and mixed a project. So it's like, it kind of feels like a debut in that respect, because in the past I've always been writing and doing a little bit of production, but this is the first time that I've actually taken it all the way to the mastering stage. And therefore that kind of feels like a first for me. So yeah, it's been really exciting and kind of scary to commit that much and take that much on my own shoulders,
Yeah, starting off, how did you come up with the title? Because it's a really good title, When the Machine Stops. How did you come up with that title?
I'm glad you like it. So I was reading a short story called The Machine Stops, and it's a science fiction short story. It's almost like 100 years old. It's like early sci-fi. It's by a dude called Ian Forster, who I think was born in the UK and then lived in America. But basically, it's a short story. It's like 12,000 words long, and this story predicts it's kind of crazy how, to what extent it predicts where we're going now with technology. It kind of predicts the internet. It's almost a little bit like the Matrix. But it's predicting how dependent on technology we'll be, to the point of not really going outside and basically kind of ignoring people. And I think he wrote it in like 1909 or something crazy like that. So it's 100 years old, but it's like it's on point in terms of where we're going with technology. So that really stuck with me. And you know, when I got to making the record, I thought, I'm making all of these, like, I'm kind of, in the lyrics, although a lot of the songs are love songs, I'm kind of throwing a bit of shade on what tech is doing to me and to society in general, feeling a little bit salty about it. So it just reminded me of this story, and I thought, okay, let me play with that title.
Yeah. And did you come up with this beforehand, or like during the process? During the process.
As I was finishing up the album, yeah, I'm pretty sure it had like a bunch of different working titles. But I think it's good to. Personally, I like to not commit until the last point, because you could be like, oh, it's called this, and then come up with a better title.
Right.
And I was still, a couple of the songs came, right towards the end. I think the last song I did for the album was What If I Go North, which is a Blade Runner reference. And I just did that like in a day while I was mixing the other songs. I just thought, I want to do something in this style. So I just threw it down in like a day.
Oh, wow.
I mean, written, recorded, and mixed in a day.
Okay, so I would imagine that was one of your favorite ones.
Yeah, it still is. Yeah, it's kind of, that was kind of me in beast mode. Every now and then I get the red mist.
Right. Now, how long did it take to record the other songs? Was it almost the same? It's just kind of as it goes by for you?
Some of them I just threw down. Another song that I did in a day was What Do We Do Now? Written, recorded, and mixed in a day. But then, and like Slept On Me took 2 days. Go Now was 2 or 3 days. But some of the songs, I literally spent weeks on them.
Yeah.
Oh, Antidote was a day. Tesla I spent 3 days on. But there are songs like Chicago with Vic Mensa, Your Religion, Magic City, and definitely Black Mirror that I spent days and days on them, because, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, right?
Exactly.
But sometimes you get stuck.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes it's like a Rubik's Cube or a jigsaw puzzle. You have to take a break and come back, particularly if you want to involve other people, and then maybe you can't get the mix right and you want to go back and redo the drums or change the tempo or the key. So, I mean, Chicago, I think I must have done like 3 different versions.
Did you?
And I know Black Mirror was completely reimagined with my collaborator Johan. Check him out. He's been working with Big Sean and Kanye and stuff recently, and Vic. He came through and he's just like, we need to flip this track on its head. It needs to be faster. It needs to knock. Like, it needs to be less 80s. Let's go. And I just thought, okay, what have I got to lose? So we completely rebuilt that track.
Yeah.
And so I guess there's like the extremes. Sometimes it's almost like subconscious. It just happens, and then sometimes it takes a lot of work and a lot of thought.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, did others have input? Did you allow input to be suggested throughout the album when the machine stops?
I think he has to. I think maybe back in the day, I was very headstrong, or just be like, no, I have all the answers. But I feel like Gandalf. I feel like the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, and the more humble you get about the process. I definitely locked myself away most of the time. creating, but I made sure to play things to people. I would be quite carefree about that and just, send people MP3s just as a text message, not with any like sales pitch or not asking anything from them. And if they just sent me back the flames emoji, then I knew I was doing. I sent Tesla to a couple of people, and one friend, she texted me back. She's like, I just got a speeding ticket because this song made me drive too fast. And that's the kind of feedback you want, right?
Right. Where was this created? I know you have 11 songs. Were they in multiple places, or was there in one stationary studio?
No, I was moving around, but wherever I went, I kind of locked myself away. So because it was very much an album made on the laptop, and I would either lock myself away I'd rent an apartment, or I'd be in a hotel room, or maybe I'd be visiting family, but I'd always go and lock myself away with the laptop and the headphones.
Gotcha.
And
what DAW do you use?
Obviously.
What DAW software?
Pardon? I'm in Logic. Yeah.
Logic. Yeah. Logic is a good software.
And I know, some people say to me, "Oh, you need to be in Ableton; it's more creative." But I know what I know. I'm still, again, going back to the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. It's like the more I learn about Logic, the more I realize I've got to learn. And the more I learn about all the third-party plugins as well, and I'm still a student, and I've been making records for 15 years, but I'm just learning. And I try and learn something every time when I open up Logic. I try and do something different. Even with the stock plugins, they're kind of redeveloping everything all the time. The guys at Apple are putting a lot of work into those. They're getting really good. People used to ignore the stock plugins, but there's nothing wrong with, I was working with Greg Wells on a track the other day, and he said, "I love the strings. Where did you get those samples?" Or, because I guess he assumed I hadn't gone and spent 10 grand on an orchestra. I said, that's Logic stock sounds. I just gave them a little bit of love,
Right.
A little bit of compression and reverb, and a bit of pan the violins left and the double bass is right, and creates a stereo field. And he was like, "Wow, that's Logic stock sound." So,
yeah. Back in
I think it's ASAP Ferg or one of the dudes in that was always just like saying, "I'll just use Logic." But I think you can get a lot out of the stock sounds. I'm still learning how to use things, so I'm not going to start trying to learn Pro Tools or Ableton. I'm happy with Logic. Question for you: do you miss the drums on Fruity Loops? Because I believe the programming of drums, and they do say that it has a knock, but the drums have a sound coming out of Fruity Loops that they don't have.
It does
elsewhere.
have it does have a heavier kind of knock to it. I actually use both of them. And I also have the Machine. Have you heard of the Machine?
Nice.
Yeah.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of run all three together.
People who have the Machine gathering dust somewhere in the corner,
Right.
But I know there's a couple of people who swear by it,
Yeah. I run them all three together.
So you make your drums with the Machine and in Fruity Loops, and then you print things out, throw them in Logic.
Yes.
That sounds like a good combination.
Yeah.
I used to make drums on my iPhone. I did an album with Duran Duran a few years back in 2014. I produced a record with them called Paper Gods, and I made drums on my phone on the train on the way to the studio.
Nice.
With an app called DM1, and I would make drum loops, and I would stem them out in my phone, so in the individual parts, I'd send kick, snare, and hi-hat or whatever to the engineer, so that by the time I walked into the studio, he would have them in Pro Tools ready to go.
Wow. Yeah. That's nice.
DM1.
I'll definitely...
And it's just, time is the enemy, isn't it? Because if we could, we'd make like 20 tracks a week. And I think it's all about finding these little life hacks.
Right.
So that when you think you've got dead time, you can work. I mean, I worked on the plane on this album.
Did you?
you know. Now, you can't really make critical decisions sonically, but I would make, like, arrangement decisions.
Right.
You can definitely, like, you can throw an MP3 of one of your own tracks back into Logic and chop it up and see how it feels.
Right.
You know, let's start with the chorus, or, you know, let's speed this up. I don't know. So yeah, I'm always trying to soak up those little bits of time. Otherwise, I'd just be staring at the back of someone's head.
Now, to get a little history from you, Mr. Hudson, where are you originally from?
So I grew up in Birmingham, England, and yeah, then I moved to London in probably about 2000.
Okay.
And I was in London till about 2014, 2015 when I moved to LA.
And how has that jump been for you to LA?
I've loved it, man. I mean, you know, for me as a creative, you've got to have a change of scene every now and then, and I needed it. I needed a change, and to, you know, it's about as far as I could go. It's all the way to the West Coast. You know, I love driving. I don't mind the traffic. For me, as an Englishman, the sunshine, I love the Mexican food. I love the great Japanese food. I love that you can get sushi everywhere, and most of it's pretty good. I love the fact that there's the studio culture, because a lot of studios closed in London over the last 10 years. A little bit like New York. So for me, the fact that the studio culture is still alive and well is great. And LA's really buzzing at the moment, I think.
So is there a inspiration of creation when you're out there?
There is. I mean, you know, travel always inspires me. So, you know, the song Magic City on the album was at least initially inspired by a night out in Atlanta with Janelle Monáe. You know, the song What If I Go North, I guess I was kind of thinking about a trip up to Canada that I did. Black Mirror, I recorded with the dude I met in Cape Town, South Africa. Closing Times with a Canadian buddy of mine, Goody Grace, but recorded in LA. You know, there's friends from Chicago are on the record. So yeah, the more I travel, the more people I meet. That's like my oxygen. I don't think I could just stay in one place. Some people can do it. They can work in the same environment for their whole career, and they don't even need collaboration. But I'm a very social person, and I like to explore, and that creatively I feed off of that. I don't even want to be in the same studio really 3 days in a row.
Yeah. It could get dark.
So I moved around a lot.
Yeah, it could get dark staying in one place.
I think if you're not careful, you just keep making the same record.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that happening. I can definitely.
You know, if you've got the Juno on the right and the Fender guitar on the left, you're gonna reach for them.
Yep.
You know, you're not gonna reach for the guitar that's down the other end of the studio or the synthesizer that's in storage. You're gonna use whatever's near. So I think it's like my advice with synthesizer collections is you've either got to have none or all of them. Because if you've got a Moog and a Juno, then everything's going to have Moog and Juno on it.
Right.
And that might work for some projects, but not for others. So I think I was spoiled working with Duran Duran. They had 50 synthesizers. And at that point, I was like, okay, this is the way to do it. You either have all of the synths, but that's like $100,000. Who's got that to spend on synthesizers? Or you have none of them and you just do it all in the box.
Yeah. Now
almost all of my synth programming was in the box. I was using like Arturia stuff, and Roland have something called the Cloud, the Roland Cloud. So I was using that to get all of the authentic synth sounds. It's like I'm not going to carry 10 synthesizers around with me, so it worked out really well. And shout out to Splice. Splice was so important to my process of making this record. You've inspired me. You've inspired me to get my machine back out.
Yeah, definitely do
Dust
that.
it off.
Artwork. How did your artwork come about? That's what I was.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the artwork. So, a friend of mine is from Paris. His name is Mathieu César, and he mainly does like fashion, pretty high end fashion stuff, and he likes taking pictures of people who have stuff to do with motor racing, and he's really into space. So he's like taking. I think he got hold of one of the was it Buzz Aldrin? I think he got hold of Buzz Aldrin and took his picture. One of the astronauts. So yeah, he and I met a few years ago, kept in touch, and I just had a feeling that he would enjoy the album and have a good idea of kind of how to represent that visually. So I went to Paris, and it was just a quick, low-key shoot. We were actually in like the projects in the east, one of the eastern suburbs of Paris, and we had to dudes kind of, I guess, sort of escort us around, making sure we didn't get into any trouble. And we just took a bunch of pictures. That was my favorite. I love the architecture in the background and the kind of interesting perspective that he got there. Yeah, it was just, it's like you said, just let it be. Sometimes it can just be easy. It doesn't have to be overly thought out.
Right.
But the funny story is Mathieu is he had a photographic exhibition in LA a couple of years ago, and he asked me to perform, and I said sure. And he said, well, what can I pay you? And I said, you don't need to pay me, bro, just whatever. And I turned up. Johan that I mentioned earlier was playing piano, and I sang a few songs. And he said, you wouldn't let me pay you, so take a picture. And I basically took one of the photographs off the wall and took it home. Yeah.
That's funny.
He's a good dude.
That's amazing.
I'm really pleased with the artwork.
That's good. Well, we're getting close to 30 minutes. I don't want to take up too much of your time, Mr. Hudson. I know told him I'll keep it between 15 and 30 minutes, but I get caught up sometimes when you talk to good-hearted people. Any last words that you would like to possibly say to your fans?
Well, any fans listening, I guess I want to say, I appreciate patience because it's been a minute since I put a project out. Give the album a good listen. It's kind of an old school record. It's definitely made. I mean, we're just talking about the artwork. I was kind of always definitely thinking, how is this going to look as a 12-inch vinyl? So it's an old school record in that respect, but also I think it's the kind of record that's worth listening to as one piece. It's the kind of project that you should sit with and not just cherry pick tracks because of who's featured on them. So I'm really proud of it as like a whole sequence. And yeah, thank you for everyone for the patience. And I'm super proud of it, particularly as I kind of, from a sonic point of view. It's really my voice as a producer. I feel like a sense of authorship because in the past I've collaborated a lot with the sonics and the production, and this one I definitely had my hands on the wheel, and I'm super proud of it. So I think I could even say it's the best thing I've ever done.
And what's your website? I know you have a website. Why don't you tell people?
MrHudson.com.
MrHudson.com. I'm sure they can find you on social media, typing in Mr. Hudson.
Yeah, just on Insta, Mr. Hudson. That's probably the best place to get hold of me. And when you go on MrHudson.com, make sure to scroll down, and you'll see some little lyric videos of Chicago with Vic Mensa, and I think you'll see a lyric video for Antidote, and you'll see the artwork for the album will fill your screen rather than just being a thumbnail on, when you go on all the music providers like Spotify and so on. The album artwork is always kind of, what is it, like an inch and a half across. So you get to look at the artwork up close.
I listened to the album a few times, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I'm still trying to pick my favorite, honestly.
That's a nice problem.
Right. That keeps me listening to it over and over and over.
That's good, and it's funny because the challenge for me was to make a record that sounded all of one tone and one, like it was all cut from the same cloth. Because I feel like in the past sometimes I've jumped around different genres and subgenres from track to track in different moods, but I definitely tried to create one place.
Yeah.
So thank you, and thanks for inspiring me to get the machine back out.
Oh, no problem, no problem. I'll talk to you later.
Take care. See you soon.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.